Happy Thursday to you, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Boy, it looks like a lot of fun out there. Dogs running around, barking, sounds like fun, looks like fun. Also look like they're a little bit hot. That's what I am. But I tell you what, if I was a dog, I'd want to do that right there. And that's known as daycare, doggy daycare. And doggy daycare, what it is, the pros and the cons behind it, is it a good fit for you, is going to be the focus of my videos today and tomorrow. Just so that if you want to participate with your dog in doggy daycare, then make sure that you do it and do it correctly, because it definitely does have its pros and cons. Okay, so right off the bat, what is dog daycare? Now, probably a lot of you already know what that is. It's something that it's an ancillary service that a lot of boarding facilities and training facilities started to add to their business way back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. Kind of took off on the West Coast and the Upper East Coast to begin with, and then started working its way towards the center of the country. And what it is, at the end of the day, it's almost like a child daycare, in the fact that the animal does not spend the night. So that's where the difference between daycare and boarding comes from. They don't spend the night, but they do come and they participate in play, and they have supervision throughout the day while you go do whatever it is that you do. You either go to work or you run errands or whatever outing event that you have to do. Now you know your dog is participating in play, getting some socialization and exposure, and they're being supervised the whole time that they're there. So next thing, what type of daycares are there? Well, there's your commercial ones, kind of like the one back here. That's a commercial daycare. And that means there's a building that has been designed, at least part of it, to facilitate that service right there. Some open areas outside, some indoor areas. If you're in a climate that would require that, like we here in the South, we definitely have an indoor play area. You want to have many different types of areas for the dogs to play, but that's typically what you'll find at a commercial facility. And a lot of commercial facilities, again, this is an ancillary service. One of their main focuses could be boarding, could be grooming, it could be veterinary services. Yeah, a lot of vet hospitals are now starting to incorporate daycare into their all the services that they provide, into training academies. But that's called commercial doggy daycare, commercial. And then there's doggy daycare that takes place at some people's homes. If you think about taking your dog to a daycare at someone's home, investigate that first. Most daycares that operate in residential areas might not be operating within code, within the standards set by that municipality, that county. Always investigate that. Make sure, because when you are held to a certain standard, that's what that means. You're inspected. They make sure that you have the capability of taking care of someone's dogs. But there are many licensed and very productive and very safe daycares being offered out of people's homes. Just do yourself a favor. Look into it. Make sure they show you their permit for doing so. Make sure it is safe. All these things. But we'll go over that later. Another type of daycare is where someone actually comes to your home. And this is where it's different than really pet sitting. They come to your home and they take your dog for an outing, but they spend generally more time with your dog than what a dog walker would or pet sitter would. It's a paid service. You come to my house, you watch TV with my dog, you take my dog for a walk. If you go on an errand, take my dog with you. In other words, it's kind of like a home daycare. Now, for me personally, that's a little creepy. I'm just going to be honest with you. I just don't know if I want that. But some people certainly do. They'll just want people to come and hang out with them. So who's doing daycare? Who's doing daycare? Well, according to the studies that have been put out here in the last couple of years, most of the people participating in daycares are millennials. Yeah, so if you're a millennial, you're one of them. Meaning these are people who actually are getting dogs and not having children. So yeah, the dogs kind of are their kids. And they're professionals. They're busy. They work long hours. And they don't want to leave their dog at home all day long by itself. So instead, they just take it to a daycare and let someone else watch the dog. But I've met people from all walks of life, retirees to professionals to people who just really only work a part-time job. They just want the dog to come in and socialize regardless, and they'd rather do it somewhere other than a dog park, which has its own risk. And that'll be a later video that I'll go over with you guys. But what are some pros? Today I want to go over some pros of daycare. Tomorrow I'll cover some of the cons of daycare. Some things you really need to watch out for. So what's one of the pros? Well, first of all, it alleviates boredom and loneliness for your dog. It just does. It alleviates that. Yeah, when you're out here, you're hanging out with other dogs. Heck, even if you can't play, yeah, you guys have seen Captain a million times in my videos. I love that little dude. But I tell you what, daycare must not love him, or he must not love daycare. Because I'll put him out there, and all of a sudden I'll just go sit in, put down my satchel, unpack my computer, do all the stuff that all you guys would do if you go to work. And I kid you not, I go walking by 5 minutes later, and there's Captain, already segregated from the rest of the dogs. And I'm going, dude, seriously, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You actually lasted 5 minutes. That's it. He's looking at me like, dude, I'm a cattle dog. I'm supposed to bite butt. That's what I do. That's what cattle dogs do. We bite butt. Well, that doesn't work out so well. So I don't know if Captain actually gets any boredom release or loneliness. He just gets tossed out every time I bring him. But for the majority of dogs, it truly does. It alleviates any sort of boredom. Definitely gives them that social support once they get to know the staff of the daycare facility, once they get to know some of the other dogs. It also provides a high energy output. Yeah, you know, when you look back here, these dogs are moving kind of slow because I decided to start this video about 2 hours after they were first let out. So yeah, 2 hours of running, zigging, zagging, up that plaything, down that plaything. You chase me, I chase you. We just have a big old run around. They're done. Yeah, they're done. And in fact, they were actually going to go put them up, and I said, no, you keep them outside here for a little bit so I can go ahead and shoot this video. Yeah, they're tired. They're tired. So it's great for those high energy output. Man, they get it out. And I'm telling you what, I have 1,000 pictures from clients who pick up their dogs from daycare, and they are sound asleep before they get out of the parking lot. So if you have a high energy dog, but yet you don't have high energy time, or you're not a high energy person, daycare, man, super, super, super for alleviating that. And it's also great for those dogs that you're actually working on housebreaking. Yeah, or an older dog that you picked up or adopted that was an outside country dog. Now all of a sudden it's an inside city dog. But no one ever taught it that it had to hold it. Yeah, so daycare can take care of that. It can take care of the dog having to go for bathroom breaks, and then when you get home, you can apply your training. So it's really good for that as well. And most importantly of all, what I consider the biggest pro of all is it has the ability to hone those incredible communication skills. Yeah, dogs aren't born just like children aren't born knowing the language. They learn the language. Dogs are born knowing some signals. They're already there, biologically prepared learning. They know sign stimuli. They already have a clue about a few things when it comes to communicating. But this is where that advanced language is picked up. This is where you learn, what does that tail set mean exactly? So you coming at me, showing those teeth, that's not a smile. I just kind of picked up on that. So they learn all of these things. And because when they're in daycare, they're typically in with a variety of dogs, a variety of structures, temperaments. Some have hair, some don't. Some have tails, some don't. Some can't smile and show their teeth because they have too many jowls. Some, they can't even look askew. They look directly at you because their eyes have been morphed to the front of their heads. Wow, that's a lot for a dog to pick up on. And they're not going to pick up on it unless they're given the opportunity to pick up on it. And wow, nothing like a daycare to allow your dog to learn how to interpret the signals being transmitted by other dogs. And I'm telling you what that does is that translates into a dog who's more equipped to deal with all of those unfamiliar dog encounters and even humans. Yeah, don't think for a second that all the humans that work at your typical daycare facility are all the same. They may have to deal with a guy one day, big, tall guy. Next day, small girl. Vice versa. 2 girls, 2 guys. Someone who's got more of a desire to want to hug and pet every dog, and one that's more like, hey, you better behave while you're out here. Yeah, you got to get that in a little bit too. They have to behave. So yeah, so they're learning humans. They're learning to live, honestly, for at least a few hours without you. So we're kind of erasing some of that secure base attachment stuff that I always worry about. They're learning how to cope in novel environments and adjust to them, learning how to read dogs. Wow, and then not to mention this little bitty thing, but it certainly can become a big thing. There's germs here. Yeah, get over that, baby. There are germs. I don't care how clean it is. I don't care what anyone tells you. There are germs, and there are germs specific to this species. Yeah, so antibodies are building. Immune system's getting stronger. Yeah, what do you think they called it kennel cough all those years ago? Now we call it acute tracheal bronchitis or canine cough. It was called kennel cough because dogs, the only time you'd ever catch them in a crowd or playing like this, going nose to nose, was during boarding situations, oftentimes during peak holiday periods. So a dog who would normally stay at home for all these weeks and months suddenly found itself with 100 other dogs. Kind of like your kids hanging out at home all summer long and suddenly going back to school. No wonder the CDC calls our schools nothing more than a breeding ground, a petri dish for viruses and germs. And yeah, now your kid's not prepared for that because the autoimmune system dropped, my antibody levels dropped, and I'm suddenly subjected to it. And the same thing happened to dogs. They were perfectly healthy till they got around 100 other dogs for about a week, and then all of a sudden, you got a dog sneezing, coughing, wheezing, goopy eyes, diarrhea. Hey, well, I tell you what, I will tell you this with absolute honesty. I've been having daycare as part of an ancillary service that we provide for over 30 years. 30 years. I was on the ground floor of this darn thing. I kid you not. If there were 5 daycares open in the country, I guarantee I was one of them. So I've been there, done that. I've seen a lot of things happen here, but I will tell you this with absolute certainty, and anyone whose dog does participate in a daycare regularly will tell you the same thing. They never get sick. Yeah, Captain's like Teflon. He is like Teflon. You could have 5 dogs absolute down hard sick. Not him. Why? Because he comes here every day. Every day. Every day he's right there. Every day his body's taking on those germs, building up. He is Teflon cattle dog. And a lot of these dogs who participate in daycares frequently are the same way. So man, that's another fringe benefit that you get. Less trips to the vet. Less trips, less healthier dog because those antibodies. So there you go, guys. Those are just some of the things that you get with a daycare. And these are some of the different types of daycares. If me personally, if my dog's going to participate in a daycare, I want that. I want that crowd for all the benefits that come with it. I personally don't want the person come to my home and hanging out with my dog. All my dog learns is that person. No, this is where things are good. This is that good stress in life, the one that bends you, doesn't break you. I love it, love it, love it. So there you go. Tomorrow, though, there are some problems with daycare. There are definitely some cons and some safety issues that you need to be made aware of, and maybe you've been doing daycare, you were never aware of it. I'm going to make sure you are aware of it so that you can make the best decision regarding you and your dog. Because that's what it's all about. So you're not stressed. You're not going to work going, oh God, I left my dog. Oh gosh, I hope my dog's okay. I hope my dog's okay. And you can't even function at work because you're so worried about your dog. Who wants that? Trust me, your dog's not thinking the same thing once you get out of the parking lot. Like I said, been there, done that, seen it. Okay, so stay tuned for tomorrow. We're going to go over the cons of daycare and cover a few more special points about daycare. And therefore, then you'll decide, am I going to keep taking my dog to daycare, or am I going to start taking my dog to daycare, or will I start to take my dog to daycare more often? See you guys tomorrow. Take care.